Welcome back, everybody, to That's the Ticket. I'm Paul Anand from the Wrestling Card Price Guide, and I am here with super collector extraordinaire, Mr. Ben Woo. And we've done a bunch of these shows now, and the last one we did went way, way back to the early 1900s. So when Ben and I were talking about, okay, what do we do next? We said, well, let's do something a little more modern. And believe it or not, we kind of got our wires crossed because I said, well, if you ask me the greatest sort of modern moment, although now that I look back on it, it's not that modern. It's 11 years ago, was the Seth Rollins initial cash-in, the heist of the century. And then you wanted to do the WrestleMania just passed in 2022. Um, and I went and prepped for the the WrestleMania 31 in 2015. So this is going to be a short one. Reason why, like I say, that when we talk about what's happened in the modern era, nothing sort of stands out more than that WrestleMania 31. Now that was March 29th, 2015 at the Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. And it was the last WrestleMania that was in March. Since then, they've all been in April. That was the one where the main event was Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. And during that time, it wasn't a WrestleMania if Roman Reigns wasn't in the main event. There was, it kind of went weird with Roman where he was kind of pushed on us early, and some of the fans sort of reacted that we're not quite ready for him. And then ultimately, he became the champion for as long as he did. But in the main event, about 80% of the way through, the Money in the Bank winner, Seth Rollins, comes running out. And it wasn't one of these where one of the guys was dummied ready to be pinned in a corner. He actually joined the match. It became a triple threat and he won. He became the champion. And that was to the surprise of a lot of people. And that sort of, to me, was the beginning of Seth Rollins as a character. And we see how he's successful he's become. And one of the things we talked about this one was the ticket itself, this show being called That's the Ticket, about how it was an oversized ticket. And it was a kind of a special one.
It's an interesting ticket, and like most of them, it's relatively rare. There's only five of them in the PSA pop report. I thought there'd be much more, actually, before I looked, because they're out there. They are scarce, but what really makes these a little scarcer is finding a nice, presentable one. They're oversized. I think they started doing digital around this time, but they still gave you the option of printing them. So they're out there, but they're oversized and they have the red Levi logo on it. But they're also, so they're probably about 3 to 4 in width and probably about 6 in length when it's ripped. So it's still big, even when it's, and I don't even think they really ripped it. I think they just gave it to you. Now that memory serves me right, I think it's just like a big oversized ticket, but they're very, very paper thin. They're not card stock. So you got two things going on. You got the oversized, which obviously presents condition issues unless you put it in a program because people fold it inherently, but then they're super paper thin. So really the only way that these would survive in good shape is if someone literally put it in their program
Kept it
flat,
flat.
right? Like in the spine and just forgot about it and put the program away because I mean, we'll show a picture up here, but they're cool, but they're all ugly unless you get a nice one. And I do have a nice one, I believe. So we'll send you an image of that. It's not PSA'd yet, but decided to add another one to the PSA once I sent it in. But fascinating ticket for many reasons. So
It's interesting that you say that, I have two questions. I guess the first thing is, do you think that that was meant to be a collector's item because it didn't look like well, I mean, it was a ticket, but it was a bigger than normal size?
you
Because it's the
know
only one, it's
it's
the only one like that. Like I've noticed, like for example, some of the old Japanese tickets that you have are beautiful, where they have the wrestlers' faces on them.
mhm.
Um, like not all tickets are created equally. It's just like a wrestling trading card. Some of them look really, really cool, and then other ones
Again,
just look like that standard Ticketmaster, machine
I'm
printed
gonna
ticket.
so I'll slide this in. We'll revert back to this question on one of our other episodes because I'm gonna do some research and figure that out because that's an excellent question, Paul. Because those Japanese, you're right, they took time to make them collectible and
They look
beautiful.
great.
There's also a WrestleMania, the 2000 WrestleMania, huge. It's actually a beautiful ticket and it's oversized. And I believe there's embossment on
Is it
it.
as big as
And
this one for 31?
WrestleMania 2000. So what would that have been? Um, that would have been 29. Is that what that is?
Probably in around there, yeah.
Something like that. So, so yeah, that one, and this is much different than that. This is a plain ticket. It's white, paper
Oh,
thin
right. You sent that to me. Yeah, where it didn't look
with
like
red.
anything.
So yeah, so it's not. It doesn't look like a grandiose,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
awesome thing, but there is a Levi. The Levi sponsored it, and they put their logo on it. So maybe it's a half-C sort of thing. I
Right,
don't
right,
know,
right.
but it's certainly
Well,
not made
you
to
said earlier that
sustain.
that's around the time that technology started doing away with tickets. Now we've got our phones. Now all of a sudden, more people come to a live venue, um, not with a ticket, but it on their phones. Like, and even now, like I'm an old school guy that when I get something on my phone, I like to print it out just in case my phone pooches and I have it. But these aren't actual tickets. It's normally like an 8.5 by 11 page. And we have a little bowl upstairs full of tickets of rock concerts and stuff. And I found one that was from an Arsenal game, a Premiership game, where the ticket was actually beautiful. And that brought me to mind of your graphic of all the different tickets that you have. Some of them are really, really cool looking, and
Those
some of them like that 20.
Japanese, yeah,
Yeah.
those Japanese tickets are amazing. I'm trying to find so yeah, so to revert back the WrestleMania 2000, that would have been WrestleMania 16 because 2002 was 18
Yeah.
with The Rock and Hogan. So,
Yeah. And I was at
but
that
that's
one.
we'll look that up. We could place that up too. It's a beautiful ticket, and that to me was meant to be collectible. One
Well, we
of
might
the
we might have to do an episode on that one because I was at that one, and
oh
I've only been to two WrestleManias, but the first one that I went to was six, Hogan versus Warrior, and
yep.
then X8, Hogan versus Rock. So the two that I've happened to catch have been really good ones.
Well, that one wasn't made to be collectible. That's pretty blah. I think you've seen that yellow one, but
Yes.
the 2000 one, so WrestleMania 16, beautiful ticket actually. So
Well, let's
anyway,
get back.
that's that
Let's get back
that's
to
that.
WrestleMania 31 and kind of the reason why it stood out for me. And again, I know that you didn't prep any notes on it, but I'll sort of just throw out some of the matches, get your sort of impressions of some of the names, and then we'll wrap it up. But it's kind of cool because we can talk about X8, we can talk about this one, and then we can talk about 22. I mean, these are all events in the last, say, 10 years, and show like we like to pick the events or the nights that were special. And of course, WrestleManias were designed to be special. So really, of the 42 WrestleManias we had, you can pick any one and say this was a big night in wrestling because that's what it's supposed to be. You know, we're supposed to have our big four pay-per-views, right? So we expect that the show of the year is either going to be a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam. But it's nice when you get surprised. You know, I remember the women had the Evolution pay-per-view, and that was one of the best matches, women
Yep.
matches I've ever seen. Becky Lynch against Charlotte Flair in the modern era, and that stuck with me because it was so good. But anyways, for me, like I say, that was a huge moment when Seth Rollins came out, sort of asserted his dominance and upset, I would say, Brock and Roman to become the champion, and he did his little dance, and that was the beginning of sort of Seth becoming a top tier guy. But some other interesting things happened at WrestleMania 31. I'm sure audience will remember this is the match between Sting and Triple H. Now that was Sting's only WrestleMania, and uh, Triple H ended up winning that match, and a lot of people didn't like that. It was sort of, oh, they're sort of punctuating the fact that WWE won the Monday Night Wars. But what I recall about that is in the middle of the match, out comes Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall as the NWO, and then here comes DX, you know, the New Age Outlaws, X-Pac, and they had a whole thing going outside the match. And I always thought that that was a great little moment in time to see all those guys. You know, they never fought each other, obviously, because they were different companies, but I always thought that that was a great moment. You know, this is a nostalgic moment for two of the
Well, I
greatest
think,
factions.
and that's what this stuff is. I mean, it's all nostalgia and story making. And you're right, it tied everything together. It took these two huge. They're kind of the exact same faction. They were just on two different sides of the thing. You
Yep,
had the likable villains of those eras on the other side, that whole era, and you had the two groups facing each other, it's like looking each other in the mirror
yep.
and facing off when they're older. It was just really,
Yeah,
it was artsy,
it was just really cool. It was like,
yeah,
oh
almost
shit, look who's, I
artsy
mean,
feeling.
talk about having a run-in in a match where the guys that happen to come in are Michaels, Hogan, Nash, Hall. I mean, you know, these are
Yeah.
you know, huge historical names. So that was, outside of Seth, that was my second thing that I enjoyed the most about 31. But there were some other things that are sort of interesting historically. In that match, The Undertaker defeated Bray Wyatt, rest in peace, and started a streak of 1-0 because the year previous at WrestleMania 30, Brock Lesnar broke the streak. And that to me was probably the most shocking thing I've ever seen in wrestling. I mean, of all the things that surprised me, they talk about just recently Brock announced his retirement and did the thing in the ring and then came back to Dummy Oba. And I'm like, that's like the third most crazy thing that Brock's done. Beating the streak for me. Like we used to when we got together, we have a bunch of guys upstairs and we have our drinks and we have our barbecues and we have like a little wagering system where we go on, and it's usually whoever wins the night gets his meal covered by the other guys. But for years and years and years, when we do the Undertaker match, we wouldn't count that one because it was a foregone conclusion as to
Yeah,
how that was go. And we put
that's
like
awesome.
points to each match, and we had to stop. We had to stop counting the Undertaker match because you knew what was going to happen. And I remember in that match, we're watching the match and hanging out and only paying half attention and then Taker lost. And this was the year previous. And I was like, wow, so that's why a year later, he comes back and he beats Bray Wyatt, and that was nice to see. Another thing, which is interesting about WrestleMania 31, the previous year's WrestleMania, going back to that one, almost should have done 30 and 31. I like 31 better. Daniel Bryan had the Yes Movement culminate at WrestleMania 30. That's where, finally he got one over on Stephanie and Triple H and won the title, and that whole yes, yes, yes thing was going. But a year later, for this WrestleMania, he opens the card, and he's not the champion anymore at this point. But he's in a ladder match, which in my mind is one of the most underrated ladder matches that there's ever been. And it's a bunch of guys, and it was actually Bray Wyatt, not Bray Wyatt, Wade Barrett, who is the commentator now, who is the champion, and Daniel Bryan won the IC title, his first IC title, having been the champion the year before against against Wade Barrett. And there was some great stuff. Ziggler was in that match. I think Brody Lee, rest in peace, was in that match. Harper. So that was a great start to it. And then one of the other things that you might remember about WrestleMania 31 is that was the first time we ever saw Ronda Rousey. She was sitting sort of at ringside, and The Rock was there, and The Rock said, "Well, I can't do nothing to take care of you, but I know someone who can," and brought Ronda in. So even though the hype and the sort of build to that WrestleMania in 2015 wasn't as big, the pay-per-view itself really delivered. It was a smash hit across the board. Of the sort of modern crop of them, it's my favorite. Again, only because of the cash in. Like that to me still stands as the coolest sort of modern thing in my mind. Um, and that's why I picked that one. So we'll keep this one short only because we don't have a lot to talk about the card itself. But what we'll do
You
is next.
covered it. That was awesome. That
Yeah,
was
well,
awesome, man. You gotta
very good.
quit. Maybe I should start being the straight guy. We just switch off and you
Well,
go
my
on.
part's easy because I just read notes and you're the guy
Yeah,
with the
but
knowledge. I'm the guy that's just reading.
this one turned out great, I thought, because you provided your emotion and your memories, and it was your favorite ones. So it was really
Well,
really fun
yeah,
to see.
I don't want it to always go back to Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair and,
Yeah,
and and the early stuff. I want to make sure that we cover some of these, and 30 was a big one, 31 was a big one. We will do WrestleMania, sorry, 2022, which was like 4 years ago, whichever one that was, WrestleMania 38, was it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do that one maybe, and we can tie it all together
See,
because
guys, we we
interesting.
we 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 figured this out, little trade secret that Tony and I don't want ever anyone to know. A lot of times we get together, we talk about what's going on in life, and okay, so what are we doing now? Oh, let's talk about this. Okay, hot topic, yeah, go, and that's it.
This turned out to pretty much be that in the end
Yeah,
because we were both on the wrong side of that. But anyway, yeah,
yep,
38. It's interesting how quickly I think that was Ronda Rousey's last one. So
yeah.
you're telling me the first, and in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm
Well, she
ready for
didn't. She
the.
was she was just there in the crowd, and then she came out. I'm like, oh
Yeah,
wow, Ronda's coming to WWE.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
all right, brother.
yeah.
Very, very, very good. Thanks, guys, for watching. A little quickie episode today. WrestleMania 31, March 29th, 2015, Levi Stadium. Seth Rollins, height of the century. Was a great one. We'll see you soon, Ben.
See you, Paulie.